What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful Monday. And if you're not, hopefully I can distract you for the next 10 to 12 minutes here, covering some interesting news. Over the weekend, Joe Rogan had the ever controversial Aaron Rodgers on his show, and there were some spicy nuggets that had Twitter having complete meltdowns. Not just the stunning admission of the way the NFL treated players who decided to not get the poke, but the direct call outs of the mainstream media over, well, being dead wrong about a lot of things in terms of the coof and the way that people were banned and treated and ostracized as the quote unquote science TM changed. Oh, also, by the way, Joe Rogan directly told his viewers to vote Republican. So you can imagine how that went over. That and more after a quick word from this video's sponsor. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor. That's right, Sheath. These boxers are designed to keep your balls off your legs. Sheath has 3 individual compartments to keep everything down there separate and cool and comfortable. And hey, since they've been a long-time sponsor, I've heard from many of you who have tried out Sheath and really love it. They were invented by a U.S. Army soldier who came up with the idea for Sheath during his second tour in Iraq, where it was hot as heck and his boys needed to breathe. And on top of all sorts of awesome designs for Sheath, they've added all sorts of winter items, hoodies, gator necks, and all sorts of base layers. Head on over to the link in the description and pinned comment down below. Use my promo code to save and support the channel and keep everything nice, cool, and dry. Vote Republican. Joe Rogan on how Americans can, quote, protect your freedom. Joe Rogan and Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers got into the harms of the coof policies on a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, and Rogan took the opportunity to blast Democrats and give a boost to Republicans. Quote, vote Republicans, he said in response to Rodgers' question about what Americans can do about it. No one who is alive today had ever experienced a true, issue on this scale, Rogan said. And I'm hoping that now that it's over, and we recognize that some serious errors were made and not repeat those, that's the best you can get out of it. So what are you going to tell those people? Rodgers said. Vote Republican, Rogan said. Rodgers chuckled. That's what a lot of them are going to do anyway. More than 1 million people transferred over to the Republican Party, I think in 2021 alone, he said. That's not really a huge amount, but you look at guys like DeSantis, who kept Florida open and had some pretty reasonable policies in terms of like what to do about the coof, and he mapped it out on television. He was widely criticized for this, where he was saying we need to protect our elders, we need to make sure that there's medical care available for those people, and everyone else should be able to do whatever you want to do and protect your freedom. Rodgers and Rogan spoke extensively about the failures of the coof policies, with Rodgers saying that the NFL had gone as far as threatening players into getting the poke against their will. Rodgers goes on to tell Joe Rogan that the NFL threatened players to force them to take the poke. Rodgers said the league wanted to virtue signal to the world that they had a 95% compliance when it came to the poke. And for anyone non-compliant, they were going to send a stooge to your team to show graphs of your percentages of your team compared to the league. I mopped the floor with them, Rodgers said. In 2021 season, the league did not mandate players get the poke, but created strict rules. If you had an outbreak caused by a non-poked player, you not only forfeit that game if you had enough players out, but you wouldn't get paid for that week, Rodgers said. According to the NFL, the forfeiture rule was deliberately designed to pressure players into getting the poke. During the 21 season, Rodgers famously claimed that he had been immunized without specifying the methodology. In November, obviously, he got the coof. He then appeared on the Pat McAfee show and said, if science can't be questioned, it's propaganda. And that's very true. Talking to Rogan, Rodgers explained that when he brought up the legal liability to the stooge, the person claimed they were not a lawyer and didn't want to talk about anybody's personal health issues. Rodgers himself is allergic to some of the ingredients in the poke, one of the reasons he opted out. He explained how the league continued to take out exemptions, including religious and PEG exemptions. PEG is another ingredient that have some people are allergic to. Rodgers explained that the consequences imposed by refusing to take the poke It's not only going to affect your day-to-day status on the team, but the ability for you to get a job, the ability to keep your job, or even get a tryout if you get cut from the team. In the discussion on the poke, Rogan also said Jen Psaki said these were approved by the FDA, which is the gold standard. That was a lie. They were not approved. It was not true. They had an emergency use authorization. They were not approved, but she was a propagandist. Rogan did note that the White House secretary's job is weird, but that Kayleigh McEnany was the best ever at that job. She was the effing Michael Jordan of White House press secretaries. She was a wizard. And if you look at a lot of these, the right wing or left wing media, the right wing's obviously praising it and saying like, "Hey, this is awesome. Vote for us. Our people are the people of freedom." And the Democrats are crying in the corner saying, "Oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is a monster, and so is Joe Rogan." The fact of the matter is, Joe Rogan outwardly saying, "Hey, vote Republican," is probably not going to bear well with the Democratic Party. I think most of his viewers, I'm sure he has more conservative viewers than he would ever like openly admit. But what I think he has more than anybody is like free-flowing voters, people that will go one way or the other, people who are undecideds or centrists who have voted both directions. I fall in that group. I voted for Republicans, I voted for Democrats, and I voted for third party. So, I think kind of the days of, vote blue no matter who, or vote red until I'm dead, or whatever these people say, those days are going out the window. And I couldn't be happier. Now, it'll probably be like at the end of my generation when that happens. But, I find myself voting all over the place. I assume that there'll be more and more people who are just like less party loyal than they ever were. You could see other great clips. How many thousands of small businesses closed and never opened again? Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan discussed how the lockdowns ruined small business in America. You see, it's just Hollywood gets me, and I don't really want to dwell on too much. He says,
I'll tell you what gets me, and I don't, really want to dwell too much on the COVID stuff anymore. But one thing that really sticks with me when you're talking about things that the government could do to make people's lives better is, I'm 38. People that, around my age, I grew up with, went to high school with, college with, a lot of them are in that age group now where people are starting their own business. They've worked in corporate, maybe they've figured out exactly what they do to start their own small business. And small business is the backbone of America, right? And how many thousands and thousands and thousands of small businesses closed and never opened again? Restaurants, bars, establishments like that, because of...
Yeah. I mean, he's 100% right. Even in my small town, maybe it depends where you live. I know like businesses in New York got crushed. I live in a small town, and there's everything from small engine repair places to restaurants to taverns and small mom and pop like stores, like hardware stores and stuff like that never reopened again. One of my all-time favorite restaurants closed, and I don't even really still understand it because they were always super busy, and they just closed because they couldn't get anyone to work there anymore. There's any number of reasons for that. They talked about a lot of things, and the fact that he's calling out the NFL, saying that they were forcing players. Here's Aaron Rodgers telling Joe Rogan that the NFL sent some Fauci stooge to each team to threaten and pressure players into getting the poke as if it prevented things. You see here's Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan discussing these experts. They said if you get it, you can't spread it or contract it. That was a lie. Let's not revise history. You see Carol Roth, as a Bears fan, I plead with you to stop making me like Aaron Rodgers. It was interesting as we talked about last week, and actually two separate videos, that now YouTube has rolled back various restrictions on what you can and can't say about, masks or the poke or things of that nature. And what they didn't do, along with rolling those things back, was unban people that had been wrongfully, in my opinion, previously banned for going, for speaking their mind. it's really a powerful statement where they say that, science that can't be questioned is propaganda. The entire scientific method is about questioning everything. The problem was the establishment media had decided what the truth was. The science is where we come with the term the science TM, right? It is, I'm not anti, anything really out of hand, in terms of like, my kids will get their pokes when they're young and things of that nature. I think there are a lot of people that were just like, man, I don't know about this yet, right? Now we're seeing all sorts of crazy things that couldn't possibly be from that. I know I would assume that my viewership is right down the same normal percentage of people. 60-70% of them are probably have it. 30-40% of them probably don't. And I don't care. Like, I've never asked you about that. I don't care about that. I think that it is, I'm one of those, I'm very progressive in that way. I'm very feminist. I believe in your body, your choice. But you see this kind of stuff like, I'm rooting against Aaron Rodgers this year. Why? Like, you're getting all these total meltdown pieces. Like, he finally admitted publicly that he purposely misled the media last year about his poke status. Do you know how many people actually cared about that? Didn't mean one in my whole life. Never met one. Never met one. Never met a Packers fan that cared about it. Never met anybody in real life. It's nobody's business. And Aaron talks about in the interview, he says, hey, the only reason the press asked me about my status is that they wanted me to shame my other teammates for not having it. So, like, they think this is some big gotcha that he came out and said, like, oh, I'm immunized. Yeah, nobody cared. And they also talk, people are fed up. Joe Rogan and Aaron Rodgers discussed the insanity of wokeness. They were just going after everything.
People are fed up. I think there's a
large percent of the population that realized that there's a lot of, has been through it, even participated. They feel terrible. They were talking about cancel culture and how it's like this hug box mentality is getting infecting colleges. James Lindsay, and they talk about study papers and all this kind of stuff. I love it. The meltdown has been absolutely hilarious on Twitter. And, it looks like a lot of the people that were kind of questioning things early on, looks like they may have been right. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.